You're listening to the Catholic Men of America podcast. Catholic Men of America is a professional business fraternity for Catholic men, and membership is free. Join us at CatholicMenofAmerica.com, and you'll benefit from networking and mentorship opportunities, find better employment, learn how to grow your business more quickly, and grow in virtue. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
100 million Americans are suffering from the burden of medical debts, and yet most of these families are actually entitled to free or discounted hospital care. Hospital Bill Eraser is ideal for those who do not qualify for Medicaid, yet don't have enough income to pay for health insurance. Here's how it works. Our savings calculator considers your household income and the number of family members and determines the real amount a patient owes for treatment. Hospital Bill Eraser can also be used proactively for elective care via our free care map. Even if a member does not qualify for free or discounted care, our wizard will analyze 20 different opportunities to lower a hospital bill and automatically generates a negotiation letter. Hospital Bill Eraser is here to erase the fear, anxiety, and harassment of a hospital bill. Patients can now seek the medical care they need without fear of living with oppressive medical debts. Visit hospitalbilleraser.com today.
Today on the podcast, Catholic Men of America co-founder Jeff Cassman interviews Jim Aloye. Jim is founder of RaiseTheArk.com, a Catholic web hosting and technology company. He is a husband, father, and entrepreneur who thinks far outside the box. He designed, built, maintained, and hosted a wide range of specialty solutions across numerous verticals. Jim is also known as a black bag operator. He is someone you can drop into a hostile environment devoid of hope when you need a miracle, and he reaches into his bag and pulls out a one-of-a-kind solution. He has a small team, but when you are in trouble, it feels like an army.
Hi, this is Jeff Cassman with Catholic Men of America, and on today's podcast, I am proud to have my friend Jim Aloye. Jim is a webmaster and IT specialist and overall technology expert with some very exciting news about a new venture of his that will appeal to all Catholics, especially Catholic businessmen. And we're talking about RaiseTheArk.com. Welcome to our show today, Jim.
How you doing, Jeff? Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your faith background, that sort of thing.
Sure. I'm from outside of the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. I was born into a Catholic family, raised Catholic. Was very fortunate to have gone, which I always say at the right time, to be educated kind of in the right place at the right time. I've always had excellent priest teachers and mentors whenever I was going through Catholic grade school and high school. And particularly, they really taught not just the faith and what it is, but why we hold the beliefs as Catholics that we believe. And that has really taken, my faith and allowed me to use it to explain and understand everything. It's very, very helpful. I wish that other people would have gotten the kind of Catholic education that I did, because I know a lot of folks that didn't, and kind of, missed the all of that key information. So really, really beneficial. I wanted to specifically mention a priest who, even to this day, I still remember his name was Father Paul Rothermill and Father Rich Clement. Those two priests were really instrumental in terms of formation and kind of teaching the faith. And, I owe a lot of what I know and what I hold, close in terms of the Catholic faith to those two individuals. In terms of family, I'm married. I have a wife. I have a son. He has special needs. Does have some issues that way, and he's been a blessing. He's a fantastic little boy, and he brings us a lot of joy. And everything I do, I have my family and particularly my son in mind. Its future is very bright in a lot of different areas, and that's where a lot of my focus is. Also, run an IT company, had a lot of different business ventures over the years. Many of them are currently active and doing various things. So I always like to, look for opportunity and see where I can fill different needs and things like that. So a lot of excitement in my circle, if you will.
That's great. And as I was reviewing your bio and stalking you online, I noticed that you've just done something that I don't come across very often. It looks to me like you've created a video game. Tell me about the game and the background.
That's correct. It's not publicly available yet. I started it I think in 2017, and kind of went on ice because of other initiatives that came up to basically chew up time. I've got a product out in Microsoft App Source. It's called Ace Service Tech App. So that actually, a lot of the energy and resources that I was originally planning on funneling into the game ended up going there just because of the need and the immediate need for it. But getting back to the game, it's a traditional kind of what they call Japanese style role-playing game. If folks are familiar with the Nintendo Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest series, that's kind of the flavor of the game. It's called Eternal Conquest, the Great War, or Eternal Conquest, I forget exactly. It's undergone a couple different name iterations, but basically it's on the iPhone, iPad, Android, and you can view the website. It's ectgw.com. That's got prototype video and different things like that. The whole concept of the game, not so much the JRPG, there is a demand for that, but it was really the way in which the geo content is designed. So when you're in that game, it's checking your position kind of real time. And there are different places that when you're physically in a particular location on Earth, different what I call geo-specific or season-specific content becomes available. And the long-term goal, whenever this thing is finished, is that advertisers and different brands and organizations can essentially pay to have their content in, and when you're in the right geolocation, that content becomes available. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. Eventually we'll circle back to that project, and move that forward. But the game exists. It's definitely visible on the website there. The different video that we've put up of it. So that's a little bit about that.
Fascinating. Okay, and so give us a brief overview. Obviously, you mentioned you were involved with a Microsoft project, and you've developed video games, and you've got a long background in IT. You said, but give us a little more of your background as it regards web hosting and technology services that you've been involved in professionally prior to this new project of yours.
Sure. Back a number of years ago, in fact, out of college, I started an IT company, got some outside funding, and basically built up as a web hosting company and an IT service provider. And, been running that ever since, in business for over 20 years. And that's been rather successful. And that's, where a lot of my experience has grown and developed. So we've done web hosting, application development, just the full range of IT services, and that's where that is.
Now, the reason we're talking today is because you have a new venture that is very exciting to me, and I think it will be to many Catholic men in the business world. RaiseTheArk.com. This is a brand new venture to support explicitly Catholic businesses, Catholic websites, and to provide all of the protection and support and technology that every business needs, but with a specific focus on this. I don't want to call it special needs, but let's face it, it's a hostile world for businessmen generally, even more so if you're Catholic. I'm very excited to hear about it. Tell me all about Raise the Ark.
Gotcha. So, over the years, as I mentioned, with my hosting and infrastructure capabilities, we've basically expanded such that we've got infrastructure in every continent. And we've got a bunch of different physical locations where we've got infrastructure and capabilities. So, in looking out at current problems that are in society with respect to cancel culture and different people and different problems that they've run into, I've started to think, well, how can we ensure that somebody's online web presence is protected, from cancel culture? And given that we've got the global capabilities, that's really where we started to delve in as we stood this venture up. So, we're situated such that, we've got 20 plus years of experience in terms of protecting data, securing against hackers, malware, and things like that. We've got the global infrastructure. So it just seemed like a natural fit that we're in a position to be able to, guarantee somebody's online presence and make sure that, folks can't be canceled. And because this infrastructure is global, if it's in one country or one region and there's some kind of a problem due to that particular, we'll say, cultural climate, or sentiment, and there's different pressures that arise against companies to restrict free speech or to restrict the sharing of ideas and things like that, we can very easily transition that content to a place that really doesn't much, have concerns about it. So that's kind of the high level view of what our capabilities are at Raise the Ark and what our focus is.
So somebody's got, a Catholic guy's got a business, he's got a website, he might have a personal blog, or maybe he's got a ministry that he does, and somebody on Facebook or Twitter finds out about it and doesn't like it, and they decide to go cause him a lot of trouble. They might go to his hosting company and file all sorts of complaints, whether they're true or not, and get his website taken offline. How do you, as a web hosting company, how do you mitigate against those kinds of threats, whether they're, quote, legitimate or whether they're completely bogus?
Gotcha. Well, we've got a security apparatus in place that really prevents folks from knowing where a particular website lives. So, you can have all these different infrastructure components, and out in front of that is, as I said, a security apparatus that proxies the information. So in order to complain to a web hosting provider about infrastructure, or to say, hey, look, there's a web server sitting here, you've got to know where that web server is, what country it's in, what building it's in, where it is, to be able to say, hey, there's a website on here that we don't like, and we don't want it to be allowed to exist. So you really can't get there because of the security apparatus we have in place. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different methods that if someone is extremely well financed and they're pointing nation state style resources at that, there's going to be some information that they can collect, obviously. But, as a general sense, you're not going to be able to get that information because of the security apparatus we have in place. You really have to pump nation state resources or that level of effort to get to it.
And it's not just that somebody tries to get you canceled and get your website taken offline. Malicious actors will try to hack into the website, for example, and steal your data and then release it, right, as a way to embarrass maybe donors or people that are on your email list. If you're running a Catholic nonprofit group and you're trying to protect children in school, for example, from nefarious curriculum, and people have donated to you, these bad actors will go hack websites, get that information, and then try to get people fired just because they've supported traditional marriage or traditional roles for men and women, that sort of thing. I assume that because you have this in mind, that you've got a sense about helping to protect the data of the people who are hosting their websites on your servers.
That's correct. Like I mentioned, we've got a very elaborate security apparatus in place, both out in front of our infrastructure and that's part of our infrastructure. So I don't think you can get much more secure than that. We've had over 20 years to perfect all of this, and that's the level of sophistication that we're dealing with. But not just that. We bring to the table the expertise in terms of behavior recommendation and just best practices. So if an individual on their own computer with sending and receiving email and storing files and different things like that, we can provide recommendations and best practices to businesses, nonprofit organizations, and various entities on how and what they need to do from a data curation, data storage, and behavior practice, so that they can mitigate and prevent all of the different doors that in many cases may be opened without our expertise, and recommendations. So we bring a lot more to the table than just web hosting and security on the web.
Who are the kinds of people that you serve? Who is Raise the Ark prepared to help in terms of business owners, individuals, pastors, nonprofit leaders? Who's your market?
Gotcha. I think we started this with the kind of Catholic business person in mind. So I think our focus is really Catholic business owners, Catholic organizations, folks that are interested in free speech and that respect other people in general. I mean, are we open to everybody? Obviously, we're a for-profit business, so we're open for anybody that wants to utilize our expertise and services. But I think really our main focus is protecting free speech and giving people that are Catholic, Christian, conservative, the opportunity to do business with somebody that gets them, to do business with an organization that understands them and understands where they're coming from. That's really what we're here to do.
Fantastic. Now, some of those words that you use might trigger some people, because a lot of bad actors on the internet hide behind free speech, and as Catholics, we believe that there are limits to free speech. It's a constitutional right, but that doesn't give us the opportunity to do immoral things. And some of the people online that I've researched that promise, hey, we can host you, we can protect you, really they seem to just be covering up for immoral or illicit activities, whether it's pornography, whether it's hate groups, or people that are promoting terrorism or something like that. What's your attitude about that? Are you really kind of you want to promote Catholic, Christian, conservative, wholesome content, or are you open to anything?
So, I think the former in terms of promoting a certain kind of content. However, let me be clear, as a public business, we are unable to deny service. So, we have to look at how do we handle customers that may not necessarily align, or they may not be aware of the focus that we have, and they may want to benefit from our expertise and experience. So this is kind of the way I see that. Obviously we service everyone, and periodically, at least once a year, we will curate and kind of, run a check on everything within our infrastructure. And if we find things that don't really align with our beliefs or with what we view our mission as, we essentially have in place the ability to sell that business to another agency. So nothing changes for the customer. They're actually going to continue to get the expertise and all of the benefits that ARC has. What they are going to have is a different billing provider and basically a different service provider. So it frees up ARC and kind of takes the responsibility of content that maybe ARC doesn't really believe in or want to be associated with, and it frees that up from ARC. It allows the customer not to have any kind of service degradation. It keeps everything compliant and fully in accordance with the law, and also it respects all parties. I'm a big believer that even if you disagree with me and I disagree with you, I respect you, and I'm not going to deny you service. I'm not out to harm you, and I just want the same level of respect. And I think that we set this up in such a way that's really our focus. Is that as long as respect is there, everybody is going to things all work out in the end, if you will. But that's fundamental.
Now, before our call, I did a little research, and I found that the three largest web hosting companies in the world are GoDaddy, Amazon, and then Google Cloud. So probably people that are listening to this, a pretty good chance that they might be have their websites at one of those places. How is Raise the Ark different, or maybe what's similar and what's different about it?
Gotcha. Well, whenever you're dealing with these larger institutions, there's a lot of service that you don't necessarily get. Raise the Ark is definitely run with a smaller business feel to it. So, in terms of the ability to reach technicians, the ability to get, kind of hand-holding, if you will, or personalized assistance, that's one big thing that Raise the Ark brings. The other thing is, though, Raise the Ark has the level of infrastructure that the big guys have. So you're really getting the big type of infrastructure, the sophisticated capabilities, but you're getting a lot of service that's not necessarily associated with those larger agencies. So you're really getting the best of both worlds when it comes to Raise the Ark.
Plus, there's kind of a built-in value. I mean, maybe it's an emotional one, but when I see these companies like those that we've named, who are out there actively promoting causes which, frankly, I think they hate us. They hate what I believe in. They hate my faith. I think they hate my family. It really kind of burns me up when I think about sending money to support those people. So one of the things would be, to me, as an obvious value to your offering is, at least the guy I'm doing business with doesn't hate me. He's not taking my money and supporting causes that I think are evil. But I want to move beyond web hosting, because even though that's the primary, perhaps primary service that you offer, it's not the only thing that you're doing. I was fascinated to see that you also sell cellular data service. Tell me how that works.
Gotcha. So we've got some partners that we're teamed up with, and we've got essentially a cellular data hotspot, and it's got unlimited capabilities. You can bring it around wherever you go. So it's unlike most of the plans and services out there that have data caps. And in some cases, I think T-Mobile has a plan that, even though it's unlimited, it's fixed to an address. So if you would bring their hotspot elsewhere, it's not going to work, or you're essentially violating their service agreement. So ours doesn't come with that kind of restriction. So it's great as a secondary or kind of a backup internet, or even a primary internet capability. It does, it is competitive in terms of cost. It's not the cheapest, obviously, but it's definitely competitive. And you've got the benefit of being purchasing from Raise the Ark and getting your support and everything like that as well. So it's definitely a good addition to our service portfolio, and it's definitely useful in a number of different circumstances.
100 million Americans are suffering from the burden of medical debts, and yet most of these families are actually entitled to free or discounted hospital care. Hospital Bill Eraser is ideal for those who do not qualify for Medicaid, yet don't have enough income to pay for health insurance. Here's how it works. Our savings calculator considers your household income and the number of family members and determines the real amount a patient owes for treatment. Hospital Bill Eraser can also be used proactively for elective care via our free care map. Even if a member does not qualify for free or discounted care, our wizard will analyze 20 different opportunities to lower a hospital bill and automatically generates a negotiation letter. Hospital Bill Eraser is here to erase the fear, anxiety, and harassment of a hospital bill. Patients can now seek the medical care they need without fear of living with oppressive medical debts. Visit hospitalbilleraser.com today.
So this would be great as a backup to a home or business internet service, or if you're traveling and you want to have a constant great connection, or if you don't want to use somebody else's Wi-Fi, whether it's at the hotel or it's a coffee shop or a convention center. There's risks. I'm sure you know them better than I do. There's risk being connected to those public spots. So this would be kind of an additional layer of protection and ease of use for somebody, especially if they're traveling. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's very interesting because we have two very specific use cases that spawn this, which I can talk about for a little bit, because believe it or not, the initial use case was the opposite of what I thought it would be. So I learned something as we rolled this out. Typically, at least I've always associated, this type of service with being beneficial to people in a more rural area that can't get, a fixed broadband connection, and they don't want to go with cellular data because cellular data has caps and there's latency and different cost and or performance issues. But where this actually took off was with inner city Los Angeles in apartment type complexes where folks, there's young people where there's a number of people in an apartment, and they don't want to bring a fixed broadband connection in because then it opens the door to people messing with it or just getting into all kinds of different predicaments. So what we found was that folks want their own broadband connections. They want the unlimited benefit of the hotspot, and they want to be able to take it with them and use it on any number of devices. So that type of customer was actually where this took off, and the rural type of customer actually took second place to the metro. So I was very surprised. I didn't expect that, but that's where it ended up. So I even learned something from the whole endeavor.
Yeah, very cool. And there's something else that you're doing that caught my attention. Talk to me about this ACE service tech app that you're involved with.
Oh, gotcha. Yep. So, I have a rich background dealing with Microsoft technologies, Dynamics 365, Microsoft Office, and so forth. And that's where the ACE Service Tech app has kind of risen from. It's a complete business management application that sits on top of Dynamics 365. It was originally designed kind of to cater toward service-oriented industries, like pest control, electricians, plumbers, HVAC, things like that. And it's a complete business management a platform that you can install into Dynamics 365 and run your service business on. It can be customized. We can scale it, with as little or as many features as you need. And it's really a great product that's got a lot of capabilities. And it's out on Microsoft AppSource. So you can go to appsource.microsoft.com and you can look for ACE Service Tech app, and you'll see my non-Raise the Arc company is who developed it, and you can see all the details there. But obviously, it's available through Raise the Arc as well.
Very cool. Now, one of the things that I think non-techies might ask when they think about dealing with a Catholic web hosting company is, well, I saw that GoDaddy offers $10 a month web hosting or something like that. Talk to us a little bit about cost. Is web hosting like a lot of other things? Is it you get what you pay for kind of situation? Does anybody really need a $10 a month web hosting? I mean, are they getting anything valuable for that, or what should their expectations be?
Gotcha. So we have a lot of different plans and different ways, that we provide service. So, we definitely have options that if you are a tech guru and you want to purchase web hosting space and you have the expertise and the knowledge to carve it up and kind of provision it the way you want, we've got plans to accommodate you. If you're a business owner and you want to be able to purchase a web hosting service and you need to engage with a company that can help you build a website or build a website for you and then host it, we've got those as well. So we really run the gamut, and I think we're priced very competitively in terms of what we offer. So that would be, we we've got the full range and the full spectrum. What you tend to find is that the more support you need, obviously that's where the costs tend to go up. So if you just want to come in, buy web space, and you know exactly what to do, that's a lot of what GoDaddy sells. And there are, in many cases, folks that aren't comfortable with that, or it poses a problem. But if you want it, we've got that. And if you want, something a little more, where we're working with you on it, we've got that as well.
I could share some nightmare stories about clients that I've known who were at GoDaddy. So that's we won't go there, but that's a horrible situation to be in. Yeah, maybe your web hosting was cheap or ridiculously priced, but when you need support, you can't get it even from somebody all the way across the world. So your cost, I mean, you're wide open, right? If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I've got this website, or I want to build this website, I don't even know what I need," they can come to you and you'll kind of hold their hand and let them know what they need and what it's going to cost, and that sort of thing.
Exactly, and to present the different options. I mean, in many cases, there's a lot of different ways to do something, and in many cases, a customer may think they know what their solution needs to be, but what they really need is something other than what they think. So the same way that I've done, in other businesses that I operate, if you've got a problem that you need solved, I like to understand what the nature of that problem really is, so that we can make sure that we're solving your problem and not doing something that isn't necessarily relevant. So we can definitely offer that type of service to whoever needs it.
And in terms of performance, because that's something that you hear about a lot in the web hosting space, people want great big, disks, drives. They want lots of RAM. They want really fast speed. Is Raise the Ark prepared to take on the really big websites that have got hundreds of thousands or millions of visitors and lots of traffic and that sort of thing? Can you scale up for a client with those needs?
Absolutely. As I said, this venture kind of grew out of my technology company that's been in business for over 20 years and has infrastructure, in every continent. So we've already got those things in place. There's no issue with scaling. We can definitely accommodate any size customer in terms of web presence and technology and things like that.
And a lot of your competitors will advertise things about uptime. And what I, as a non-tech guy, understand uptime means is that the server is available for public access in terms of, I want to come visit the website, and it is in fact available. Is that the kind of metric? Is it a good metric to measure? And where would you estimate that your infrastructure is going to be compared to some of these other big firms that advertise, 103% or whatever they say?
Yeah, our infrastructure has that level of uptime. I like to advertise like 99.9% uptime. Obviously you can't guarantee 100%. There's always blips, but we've got a very robust infrastructure. It's global, and things can migrate around as there's maintenance and different things like that done. We also have, as part of our security apparatus, we have a lot of caching that speeds things up substantially. So a lot of of times whenever you're accessing resources that we're hosting, you're actually accessing cached versions of those resources, in local areas of our infrastructure. So, I mean, there's a lot of redundancy and things like that. So I think uptime, while it sounds nice, everybody's got it. And I think the bigger thing that we bring to the table is keeping your website and keeping your web presence, available even whenever different folks are targeting you. Because no matter how much uptime you have, whenever web companies are folding, they don't want involved, they don't want to have your website because there's too much heat coming down, even if, your website doesn't really say anything controversial. Sometimes, as we've seen in the past, you look at the content and you're like, there's nothing controversial about this. But because somebody's essentially telling a story and getting other people to believe something that isn't true, there's a lot of animus and rage, and no one's actually looking at the details. And the companies just don't want anywhere near it, like it's a hot potato. And unfortunately, the innocent folks suffer whenever somebody's not interested in facts. They're just interested in keeping the heat off them and not confronting it.
I know some men who run some Catholic apostolates and also some priests who have a pretty big presence online. And it seems like whenever they're getting ready to launch a new, a period of prayer and fasting, or 3 weeks of studying the scriptures or something, and they prepared a bunch of stuff, they're getting ready to launch that, word has gotten out that something is coming, and all of a sudden their websites come under attack, and invariably that's when their website is down. And if they're with GoDaddy or Amazon or somebody like that, and it's Friday night or it's a Sunday afternoon and they're desperately trying to get help, and the only person that responds is from India, and they can barely understand, let alone get the help they need. How would you compare the support you're prepared to provide to Catholic organizations, Catholic businessmen, with what I would describe as kind of a typical and awful experience with these big hosting companies?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, obviously we service customers globally, so we are a 24/7, 365 operation, and you're likely able to get to us 24/7. So I think we've got stellar support, and I think it's in many ways better than what the larger providers have. We've got a system in place in terms of how we operate. Like I said, I've been in business for over 20 years, and that's the one thing that we excel at, is that you really get what feels like it's a small small business style support, and we've been able to do that successfully, and it hasn't been compromised in spite of our growth and our different changes and global presence. So that's the benefit.
Another big issue for most people that are looking for web hosting is security. And it seems like it's a cat and mouse game. Every time the security is upgraded, the hackers and the malware, immediately start trying to take that new level of security down. And I know personally of some people who just recently had a situation where it wasn't even really hacking. Nobody's password was broken, but somehow the attacker was able to inject malware into their website. And then that started replicating itself somehow. And I mean, it just caused them a terrible nightmare. It was a relatively small organization. And they certainly don't have, a chief technology officer. They don't have a full-time IT guy. And it did terrible things, not just to their website, but to their confidence level and their clients' confidence in them, which is probably immeasurable. There's no price tag that you can put on that. What are the kinds of things, I don't mean the specifics, but is Raise the Ark positioned to proactively help your clients whose websites are with you to help protect them proactively against those kinds of things?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, We've got a rather large and sophisticated security apparatus that exists in several different places, several different layers, both out in front of the hosting infrastructure and part of the hosting infrastructure. There's so many different services and products and different capabilities that we can implement depending on what the technology is. So, ranging from proxying and scanning connections that are coming in to scanning the actual content and monitoring the website itself for changes. I mean, without getting into all the technical aspects, we've got all those different layers of security in place. Obviously, there's a cost, to all of that. And, typically we look at each customer depending on what they're running and, how they're operating and what do they actually need versus, what's available. And we can customize or pretty much, implement whatever is needed to ensure the level of security that we want in that environment.
One of the most frustrating things for me is when you go to a news article or a link online to a fast-growing organization, and their website is it's slowed down to nothing, and it's timing out and so forth because their server has been overwhelmed. And so if you've got a client who has been growing steadily, and all of a sudden, there's a tremendous amount of growth. Let's say it's Catholic Men of America. We're growing steadily. If we were to move our web hosting to you, and you were taking care of it, and all of a sudden it blows up, right? People all over the world are saying this is a wonderful thing. They're piling on there, and our usage is, goes from a couple of hundred people a day to thousands or tens of thousands just overnight. Do you have the ability to adjust? I don't know what the terms are, the bandwidth, and scale that up in real time to meet those needs?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, there's several different ways to do that. As I continue to mention that there's technology out in front of the web servers and technology in the web servers. So one way that demand is addressed is with caching, also with bandwidth, and things like that. So there's a lot of different adjustments that can be made whenever things scale. You can also increase the number of web servers. You can perform something that's referred to as load balancing. You can increase the number of pathways into a website. So there's so many different tools and processes at our disposal. And as I said, we've used these processes for over 20 years. We've refined them and tweaked them and things like that. So yes, pretty much every industry standard process that's available in terms of scaling and availability, we've got at our disposal and we've used it.
I know that I read every day that technology continues to develop at an increasing pace. Do you feel that Raise the Ark is prepared to bring on clients who have the cutting edge needs in terms of web hosting and streaming and all the other stuff that maybe a leading Catholic news organization might be in need of? Do you think you're at that level that you could compete with the best of them out there?
Oh, absolutely. My IT firm, like I said, has been running for over 20 years, and I mean we're doing all that now. So we've got the capabilities. There's a lot of infrastructure we have globally, and there's pretty much any need that you have, Raise the Ark can fulfill.
As we wrap this up, one of the things that I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody in business is to kind of define what they're really great at, right? You can't be great at everything. You might be good at a lot of things, but you certainly can't be great at everything. To use a sports analogy, right? Even one of the greatest football players of all time, I think most people would agree, Tom Brady. He's not real popular here in the South, but he's got an impressive career, but he would never pretend to be great at every position on the football field. What do you think you're really great at? If you wanted to be, if Raise the Ark was going to be known for something, how would you define that?
Gotcha. I look at kind of where my emphasis has been as a customer, and as a customer, I all too often interact with companies that are terrible at responsiveness. I don't know what are they doing to solve my problem? Where is this situation at? Who's working on it? What did they find out? And that's really what I think we, as Americans and as folks, who at one time were very strong with customer support. I know in the 80s and 90s, big companies were very responsive in terms of being able to communicate with their customers, and it's just gotten terrible. So whenever I started and run the various businesses that I have, really responsive communication is the key. I don't want our customers to experience that which I just described as kind of not knowing where things are. So the different folks involved with my businesses that interact with clientele, responsiveness and support, I think, is really key. You're going to be able to communicate. You're going to be able to find out where things stand. You're going to know that we understand what the problem is, or if we don't, we have a process and a pathway that we're on that will get to the bottom of it if there is a problem. So I think that's really the thing that I always bring to the table, because that's what I want, and I think that's where the gap is, and that's really what positions the businesses that I've run, kind of over the top, is that level of responsiveness and communication. Obviously, we're good at security, we're good at availability, we're good at technical expertise, but really when you get into what the differentiator is, I think it's really that level of responsiveness that you just don't get with very many companies.
I have been interviewing today Jim Aloye, founder of RaiseTheArk.com, a Catholic web hosting and technology services company. Jim, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for listening today and watching. Please go visit RaiseTheArk.com. Check them out for your business or your blog, your church, your Catholic apostolate, and do business with somebody who shares your faith rather than someone who hates it. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you again, Jim, and God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
You've been listening to Jeff Cassman interview Jim Aloye. Jim is founder of RaiseTheArk.com, a Catholic web hosting and technology company. For more information about Jim, visit RaiseTheArk.com today.
100 million Americans are suffering from the burden of medical debts, and yet most of these families are actually entitled to free or discounted hospital care. Hospital Bill Eraser is ideal for those who do not qualify for Medicaid, yet don't have enough income to pay for health insurance. Here's how it works. Our savings calculator considers your household income and the number of family members and determines the real amount a patient owes for treatment. Hospital Bill Eraser can also be used proactively for elective care via our free care map. Even if a member does not qualify for free or discounted care, our wizard will analyze 20 different opportunities to lower a hospital bill and automatically generates a negotiation letter. Hospital Bill Eraser is here to erase the fear, anxiety, and harassment of a hospital bill. Patients can now seek the medical care they need without fear of living with oppressive medical debts. Visit hospitalbilleraser.com today.
You've been listening to the Catholic Men of America podcast. Catholic Men of America is a professional business fraternity for Catholic men, and membership is free. Join us at CatholicMenofAmerica.com, and you'll benefit from networking and mentorship opportunities, find better employment, learn how to grow your business more quickly, and grow in virtue. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.